This is Ravens Flock Talk Podcast, coming to you every week with their thoughts and opinions on each and every Ravens game. Tune in weekly and join the flock.
This is Ravens Flock Talk. I'm your host, Brandon, and my dad joins me as my co-host. And at the time of this recording, we're a few days away from the game, but I think this is the perfect time, actually, after having the Sunday games being played. But first and foremost, our first primetime game. It's been a long time. I mean, how many times have we seen the Broncos and the Jets play? And so finally we get our turn. And I just want to say, too, is, man, the atmosphere, primetime, all-black jerseys. There's not a lot of times where I get a little bit of jealousy of not being there. Mm-hmm. When I think of it, like all the times that we've been to games, the most memorable moments are Ray Lewis coming out, doing his dance, the songs going, the flyover with the Jets, and games like this. Night games, all black uniforms. I mean, we just look unbeatable. And, man, what a big win. I was a little bit nervous. I don't know how you felt, Dad, going into this, because after our Cleveland loss, I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen, because keep in mind, I mean, yeah, we beat them the first time. That was only week 2. And Cincinnati, I think, won their last 4 or 5 games. I mean, it looked like they were hitting their stride. The only thing that calmed me down was the fact that T. Higgins was not going to be playing. But I'm glad that we were able to come out punching strong and just hold them off the entire game, even though Burrow got hurt. But I think even if he stayed healthy, we would have kept on going with this run and finish out with the win. So big win for us. Very glad. Very glad.
Yeah, absolutely. I was nervous, Brandon. This is the game that I circled on the calendar. This is the one at home that I wanted to see and actually go to. The fans that did go there that I know, they had a tremendous time. It was a blackout with the black uniforms. They said it was just absolutely electric. And these are some of my season ticket holders that I know.
Yeah.
So that must have been an unbelievable atmosphere right there. And yeah, hey, this was exactly the kind of game in the AFC North that you have. It was tough. The tackling was hard. People were getting injured, and it's typical AFC North football. But the Ravens finally got back to what we were doing, what we are best at doing, and that's running the ball.
Yeah.
In between the pass.
Really, I mean, when you think about it, from the third quarter on, I know Burrow left the game with like 2 minutes, 10 seconds-ish just before halftime. But from then on, it reminded me of the Cleveland game. You have the lead. Mm-hmm. A field goal helps, but run the clock out, run the ball, go back to your ground and pound Ravens football. So it was really a similar situation with the Cleveland game, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. The game plan should have been the same as it was this game, as it was for Cleveland. It just happened. We just messed up with the Cleveland game. But I'm glad they fixed their issues. And, like I told you, if we drop a game, we're back in the mix. And we're still just lightly treading water. We only have a game ahead. That Cleveland loss hurts us, because they're right on our tails now. Mm-hmm. And now, at this point of the season, we're starting to see some separation. Cleveland's holding on, even though Watson got hurt. Burrow's now out. You can eliminate Cincinnati from the mix. Right. Pittsburgh lost a big game. Big game for Pittsburgh, which me and you both wanted Cleveland to win.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody's scared of them with Watson being out, even if they make the playoffs. They struggled to score points against Pittsburgh. I don't see how that offense is going to score now that he's gone. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I feel like at this point of the season, we're sitting good. And even with our losses, yeah, we should be undefeated. But not every loss is a bad loss. And I think those losses are a reminder to the team of what can happen, right?
Yeah.
Because if you keep winning games, you get lackadaisical. And so I feel like we're sitting in a good position, and we'll see what happens tonight with Eagles and Kansas City. We could be first in the AFC. You never know.
Yeah, to your point, I'm glad they have a bad taste in their mouth with those losses, because they have to learn from that. and don't take anything for granted. You
Yeah.
know. So I can't agree with you more on your synopsis of the game. I would love to see. I'd love to see Bateman's first touchdown. That was nice.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers got one called back, and that was a shame, and that was a really petty penalty bringing it back on OBJ. OBJ had a great game, so that was nice to see.
On that play you mentioned, I mean, we always talk about we can never do dump offs and screens right. Textbook
Finally.
perfect play with the blocking, and they called it back. And you know what? At that point, I really thought, man, we might go downhill from here.
The momentum swing.
Yeah,
right?
we might,
It's
because I also mentioned too, what a perfect time you score. And at that moment, they highlight Burrow on the sideline, and he's throwing, and he can't even go through his progression.
Yeah.
So if you score that, they got to go out right then and there with their backup quarterback.
the football
I know, but it was the perfect time.
I mean,
you know?
in that scenario, though, yeah, it was a crushing blow. I can imagine how they felt in the stadium,
Yeah.
and how, it takes the wind out of you. But the thing is, man, the gods, the football gods, were with us because we got a few key penalties on the next drive.
Yeah.
and we scored,
Yeah. Yeah,
right
we
before
did.
half.
Some crucial penalties by Cincinnati on third downs, and it just extended us the drive. And I mean, let's just jump right into the game. I mean, the first drive, boom, 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 touchdown. Cincinnati comes out away, close to sacking him. Burrow evades it. And away had a multiple plays where he's just inches away. And I'd never been a big away fan. He seems to be at the right place at the right time, but there's a difference between guys that make the plays and don't. I mean, you look at TJ Watt, right place at the right time, but he makes those plays. And Away seems to be there a lot of the time, but he can never capitalize. Yeah. But also on that drive, multiple chances for a pick six or a turnover or something.
I think there were 3 times we could have had a turnover on that drive.
It was 2. It was a tip pass on a screenplay, and then Marcus Williams dove and batted it down. They ended up with 3. But at that point, I said, man, Cincinnati's looking dangerous. I mean, we might, even though there was no turnovers, which was wild, for especially a division game, that kind of calmed me down a bit after seeing their first drive, because I'm like, we're just there. We're a play away, And
our bio is not coming out strong. And so that was good to see. I want to remind everybody, we always come out. Well, although we've had scores on the first drives.
Well, you look at the Lions game, and there was another game that we just came
Colts?
out blasting them. Colts was a good one. It was another blowout win. But there are times we come out strong, Yeah.
But it was just good to see
Seahawks. It was a Seahawks game.
Yeah, it was just good to see the energy level so high. I can't imagine it not being. Even the players said that night, with the blackout and lights, that they were all pumped up.
Yeah.
So that was nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, especially too, man, with a division and a rival like this, a team that's been talking a lot of trash, who's very cocky, that also plays into a factor.
Yeah.
I mean, we do not like Burrow. Me and you, we
Mr.
really dislike him.
Yeah.
I haven't disliked the quarterback this much since Tom Brady.
And look, the thing I hate most is they call him Joe Cool. And in Baltimore, there was only one Joe Cool, and it wasn't him.
Yeah.
And this cigar smoking and stuff, that's just like distasteful to me. But
yeah.
Hey, anyway.
But, a few things I want to highlight in this game. I mean, a great win. Very excited to be able to sweep them. The only downside was that Mark Andrews injury. I mean, the day after, I was driving to work, and I was just like thinking about it. I'm like, man, like I said before, if you have listened to a previous podcast of ours, this is the best I felt. I feel like we're a Super Bowl team, and I was thinking, how can we get there without him?
I know.
I mean, yes, there's games where sometimes he's invisible, but just the presence alone. I mean, he could be used as a weapon, just as a key guy for the defense to hone in on, to open up for Zay Flowers or Odell. And now that he's not going to be on that field, and he's literally been Lamar's safety outlet.
More than, I was just going to say, more than that,
it's huge hole.
It's his comfort zone.
Yeah.
Lamar's comfort. When he's in trouble or he has to get on track, it's always been Andrews. They have that connection that nobody else has.
I mean,
and I want to talk about that tackle because there's been a lot of posts about it. A lot of people say that tackle should be illegal. I forgot it has a specific name to it, Brandon, but what happens is the player will go or wrap his arms around the person's legs and twist with his whole body weight and to push him down and land on their ankles. And that's exactly, I looked at that play over and over, and that's exactly what Wilson did.
Yeah,
Logan
Wilson.
Yeah, Logan Wilson. And he looks to be like you want to say he's aggressive? I'm going to put it over the line and say he's almost like a dirty player because he had too many plays that I was watching.
And yeah, he also hurt Odell. As soon as I saw his arm go up and come back down, I knew Odell was going to be hurt.
Yep.
He's not... I don't want to say he's not tough, but he, in terms of a NFL sense, you can kind of tell when a hit is going to really hurt a guy, and I just knew it. So he's got some time to rest. I'll be surprised if he's going to be out there next week. I really would.
Said it was a shoulder injury.
He was harnessing that shoulder pretty gently after the game in the post-game interviews. Even on their social media, he was in a locker room, and he was just
I think they'll keep him out, Brandon, for the simple fact that we have a bye after this game, and they probably want to rest him for 2 weeks, So that alone
possibly,
right there.
But, the game is not as aggressive as it was, but Cincinnati, I mean, they're comparing him. I don't know if you remember Vontaze Burfict. He's a very dirty player for Cincinnati in the Marvin Lewis era. Had that brutal hit on Antonio Brown, helmet to helmet. I think it was a playoff game.
Wow. Yeah.
And some people said that cost his CTE, Antonio Brown, because, he was dead. But, Logan Wilson, he's not as dirty as Vontaze was. But, man, to knock out two of our guys, as a Ravens fan, that enrages you.
That's not a coincidence. And Andrews, what made me mad is if you really look at it, after he made the tackle, he's standing over the top of him like he's almost ready to kick him. And only until you saw Andrews in severe pain did he back off.
Yeah. A player for a player. Now, but Burrow's gone, so hey, you know. An eye for an eye, basically.
Hey,
Lamar got hurt too, and
look, that
was a scary moment.
That too. And I'm saying, I don't have sympathy for Cleveland I won't say sympathy, but
I don't.
Now you feel it, right? For both Cleveland and Cincinnati, when you don't have your star premier quarterback out there, and you got to finish up the season like we did with Huntley.
Yeah,
so
in a playoff game, too.
And a playoff game.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, just the last thing I'll say with the Andrews thing, that was the real crushing blow. They hyped up Likely in previous years. I know he had a big game, I believe, last year in Tampa Bay. We'll see what he can do. He is a good player, but, Andrews is a top 3 tight end in the league, and there's just no replacing that. There really is. He is the best receiving target that we have. And so now it's like, now you got to lean in more on veteran players like Odell to stay healthy, and for Zay Flowers, even though he's been great all year, to now up the ante. Now, you're I know you're a rookie, but we need you. We need you to step up. And Bateman too. I get it. We always say Bateman is 2 catches, 3 at most a game. He had the touchdown catch to this game, and I said that's going to be his only catch, and it was. Yeah. And it was. And with Andrews out now, there's no excuse. Now you need to elevate. And also harness more in the run game.
And there's going to be more opportunities for those guys to catch passes.
Exactly.
Now, there'll be no more excuses, Brandon. Yeah. And you always have said that these guys like Bateman and Likely, 1 or 2 catches and they're disappeared. Even OBJ disappeared after 1 or 2 catches, and now he's got to step it up.
In previous, these last 3 weeks has his bench stretch. He has 4 catches over 100. I think this is his first over 100 yard game.
I was going to say, though, this is the first game like that.
But occasionally, he'll have. But his catches sometimes, even if it's 1 or 2, are sometimes lately have been big catches.
Right.
Which you don't see that a lot with a Bateman.
I just love OBJ's hands. He just does not drop the ball. So I'd love to see more slants to him. And he still has speed. So it's like, man, those slants are is bread and butter. And I just love to see it. And then Likely, like you said, he's going to have to step it up. And be the receiver that we recruited him to be.
The best thing you can really think of is he studied Andrews all throughout practice and picked his brain. And so now, you got to get open like Andrews does.
Who's the third tight end? Is it Kohler? Yeah,
I believe
Kohler.
so,
Yeah, so he's another one but he's probably a blocking tight end more than anything.
Yeah, kind of like how we had Nick Boyle in previous years. Last thing I want to say in regards to the offense, and we can switch to the defense. I still want to see this guy get more touches as Keaton Mitchell. I get Gus. Gus had a good game. 12 carries, 62 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's an
automatic touchdown guy in the red zone.
But Mitchell's speed, the way he can elude and evade defenders and make one or two guys miss and carry a guy that a Justice Hill can't do. You got to utilize him more. It's tough because Lamar, he got 9 carries, right? He got 9 carries.
Yeah.
And Mitchell had 8. But I want to take back some of those design runs from Lamar and get those carries to Mitchell, right?
Yeah. Protect your
quarterback.
And he almost got hurt.
And now with Andrews out, use this additive weapon that you have in Mitchell.
And once again, I was going crazy during the game with Lamar, going out of bounds casually. He almost got hurt.
That was the second point I wanted to bring up is when you're up, right? Don't do these design runs.
Yeah.
And then the play he got hurt was on him because he's rolling out on a pass. He's got nothing.
Right. And he's still
throw the ball
away.
out.
Yeah.
And he's still
He tried to throw it at the last minute, but he's already tackled going out of bounds.
I know, and that guy's committing to him for a run. And he's going to hit him.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get a flag.
Yeah.
You're a runner at that point.
Exactly.
And so, I don't want to see this team crumble at this point, not just before, but, we got, 7 games left until the playoffs, but this is the time where you're supposed to hit your stride going into the playoffs.
And use your weapons.
Yeah.
That's their position. That's what they get paid for.
I don't want to see us crumble now. The last 4 podcasts that we have, we said injury-free.
Yeah, and Lamar's got to understand now that he is our premier quarterback dollar-wise. He's got to protect himself. Yeah. He's got to make better, smarter decisions. And that's
it's 50-50. It's on him and Todd because why are you
putting him in that jeopardy?
QB scramble, sneaks, design runs with him. You already have the game in the bag. He was limping throughout the game too, if you noticed.
And then he was limping really bad on that. And then the next play is a design run for him on the sideline. I couldn't believe it.
It's like banging your head against the wall. It doesn't make any sense. And you got a young rookie in Mitchell, fresh legs, ready to go, and you want to run with your QB who's hurt. Let's just be honest. Yeah. And he said, I think after the game, my hip or my leg, ankle, I think it was an ankle, is fine. I don't want to talk about it. Well, listen, dude. You're the big money making man. You're the star of the team. You're the face of the league, damn near. Yeah, they're going to talk about it,
Hey, Brandon, before we go on to defense, Aguilar, because that was an unbelievable lucky play.
Right place at the right time.
He wasn't even, when we looked at slow motion, he wasn't even looking at the ball. At the last minute, he turned his head, and the ball was right there in his chest.
Yeah.
What a beautiful play, though, at that time. Boy, we needed that badly.
Yeah.
By the way, Aguilar, don't do any more front flips and break an ankle or something because that looked awkward as he landed.
Yeah,
but anyway.
That reminded me of, as you mentioned, Lamar. During the game, Lamar with the flip. I think that was New England a couple years ago.
And he hurt his hip and said he would never do it again.
Yeah. So, on to defense. Another great job of containing Jamar Chase. Like I said in the beginning, T. Higgins kind of calmed me down with him being hurt because he killed us in the first game. Jamar didn't do anything. And so their offense is really predicated on those two guys the most. Yeah. Tyler Boyd doesn't scare me. Joe Burrow was beating us a few times with the tight ends, which was frustrating when he was out there. But great job of containing Jamar. He was just irrelevant. He got that garbage time touchdown at the end, which pissed off Roquan, I heard.
Yep.
But great job.
Shout out to Brandon Stevens. He was one-on-one with him a lot, and he's not as tall and big as him, so props to him. He did a great job one-on-one with him.
Kyle Hamilton matched up a few times with him too, played him aggressively as usual.
Kyle had a lot of a lot of blitzes that forced Burrows to throw early in the game.
Yeah.
He was always involved with the sacks that they had. So he has really impressed me this year and stepped his game up.
McDonald's really utilized him a lot in that aspect, blitzing on the edge. He's a factor because he's tall too. So even if he jumps, you got to compensate as a quarterback to get it over him. And that's what happened with Cleveland. He tipped the ball from Watson and boom. So he's a very tall, lanky.
Yeah, one of those times they actually did a stunt and he blitzed up the middle even. Yeah, I saw that. He's all over the place. They have to,
It's interesting because we drafted him as a safety, but he's not naturally playing that position a lot. Usually he's in the slot or coming on the edge. We have Geno Stone and Marcus Williams as safety, so it's cool to see all three of them on the field at the same time. I mean, Queen had the most tackles, but Queen was getting beat,
man, on that
time and time again. In the
he's
flats,
missing tackles, which is grabbing at him.
The wheel route he got beat on. Yeah. So in coverage, he can be a liability for sure.
And that's been his scary. That's been his bio, Brandon. That his weakness is pass defense. Okay, he's a good for run, but he has to do something to improve on that big time.
Yeah. We got 3 sacks, Matabike away. Actually 4, Tavius Robinson, Van Noy, and Clowney. I'm sorry, 5. I kept adding them as I was looking. So it's honestly interesting to me how we are the most sacked. We have the most sacks.
I know, it doesn't feel like it because we have no premier edge rusher.
Yeah.
And
time and time again, as I'm watching a game with you, which I always do, you're like, where's the pressure? He's got all this time. And then, if it's an elusive quarterback, he'll evade a guy trying to grab at him and whatnot. So it's honestly crazy because...
Just think if we got some of those sacks. We'd have like 7-8 sacks a game.
But you know what? I feel like we're spoiled because, I grew into being a Ravens fan with Terrell Suggs and Boulware and Saragusa and Ray. And so,
what a team, though! Those were those.
Looking back now, as I'm a grown man now, and I'm like, I took it for granted how good we were on defense.
And then on the back end, you got Ed Reed, the best safety in the NFL.
Ed McAllister, Samari Roll at one point. So, we had some dogs.
No wonder they were scared of
Landry,
our defense.
People forget about Landry. We love Jim Leonard. For
Jim Leonard.
I
forgot about
little
him.
bit of time before Rex took him away. So we had some dogs on defense throughout the years.
All the other teams knew.
It's just our offense. Offense sucks. So, this new era with Lamar and some of the Flacco years has been very unusual.
Speaking of him, he just went to the practice squad for Cleveland.
I heard. Interesting, yeah.
38 years old.
Yeah, so like I said in the beginning, I'm glad we kind of waited to record this because now we're starting to see the separation in this division. Pittsburgh, man, they look god-awful on offense. I just don't see how they can keep up. They're sitting at the 7th spot right now, the last spot in the playoffs with all these games left. So we'll see. Next we have the Chargers, who somehow lost to the Packers. If they don't fire Brandon Stanley, I don't know. Hopefully they keep him for us so we can play him while he's there.
We're the underdog in that game, by the way, because it's at home for them.
Yeah, it's so interesting, though. I think it's SoFi Stadium. They don't have a home presence at all, so whoever's the visitor really is the home team.
Yeah, they're claiming they have a better team than us, so we'll see. That'll be a good game.
We'll see, but, I wanted to mention, too, Joey Bosa carted off the field.
Oh, yeah.
He was in tears. He reappeared on the sideline, I read, in a boot. So I doubt he's going to be playing. That's a huge loss.
That's a huge
and
loss.
For Brandon Staley, he's a one of the poorest coaches. The Chargers owners are not really big spenders. They had a chance on Sean Payton, went the cheaper route. It's not serving them very well. But he's a defensive coach, and they have all these guys on defense. Derwin James, one of the best safeties. They got Bosa, of course, Khalil Mack. And yet they're one of the worst defenses.
Yeah.
One of the worst defenses.
Which is hard to believe.
They can't stop anybody.
It's not making sense.
So, I mean, we put up 34 this game. We should put up at least, 28 points against them, in my opinion. The only thing that scares me on offense is Herbert, of course. I love Herbert.
I do too.
Outside of Lamar, I love Herbert. I just think he's in a bad situation. Keenan Allen is a threat. And Austin Eckler, their running back, is a threat too. But running backs, we rarely see them beat us.
Torch us
like
other teams.
This should be a win.
Speaking of separation, Brandon, we got a big one tonight because we got to root for Eagles to win. That'll be really good help for us in the AFC.
Big game tonight. Big game tonight. But I mean, we're looking good. As I mentioned, the losses they do hurt. If I had to take one back, it would be the Pittsburgh one because I hate them so much.
And we should have won that so easily too.
Yeah, and the Cleveland one hurts too now that they're on our heels, now that they're second in the division, because I would be feeling really good if we swept them,
or one of them.
Because no way we would have to literally collapse and lose all these games.
We sweep them. The only team left is Pittsburgh at the last game of the year. So.
Exactly. And they might not even be in a position.
Right.
At that point.
We would be in a position when we don't even play our starters.
Yeah, at that point. Yeah. So, I mean, really, I think going forward as we round off the end of this podcast, with the injury to Mark Andrews, this is going to be a real testament to Todd Monken.
Yeah. See how he's going to adapt.
That's like Mahomes losing Kelsey,
Kittle,
or Purdy losing Kittle. So, listen, man, you got out and got the weapons for reasons like this. Reasons that you don't want to happen, but you got to prepare for. And likely is he could be a starter on a team like a Houston or a Lions to me in my opinion, but he's not on this team. And so he's still a threat. He's still a weapon. And the offense could drop down a step, but with all these weapons, there's really, I hate to admit it, not really an excuse for it, in my opinion.
I have 2 words for Todd Monken: short passes.
Yeah, you got to get it out.
Get these guys in the groove, getting catches, getting comfortable out there. Don't start throwing bombs with Lamar again. Short, over-the-middle passes. That's the weaknesses of most teams, including us. And that is how you negate is the word I'm looking for. Negate the fact that you have your star tight end out. So,
yeah. So, as I mentioned, we are playing Sunday night, SoFi Stadium against the Chargers. Also within our division, I just had it up. I think the Browns play. Oh yeah, Browns play the Bengals. And hey, let's just be honest here. I mean, the way the Browns look, I know they won, but offensively, it looked a wreck. It didn't look cohesive. The Bengals could pull it out. They could pull it out.
Hey, I'm looking at it more so not our.
Actually, no, sorry. The Bengals played the Steelers. My apologies. So the Bengals could beat Pittsburgh, is what I was mentioning, because Pittsburgh's offense is just in a frenzy.
But look, I'm looking at it outside our division with both quarterbacks out for both teams. Hey, they're going to be having a tough schedule like us toward the back end of the season.
Browns play the Broncos, and they just had a big win last night. They just squeaked it out. It seems like, even though it's kind of ugly looking, Denver's kind of somewhat hitting their stride from how they started. So hopefully Russell Wilson can pull something out of the bag and beat Cleveland and give us some breathing room if we handle business. But we'll know the results of those games before our game because we got the Sunday night game. So first time, I guess we haven't mentioned John Harbaugh in a bit.
Why, you mean he didn't call a bad timeout
I
in
guess
the game or fourth and...
It's a good thing if you don't have to mention his name,
4th and 6 in the red zone?
Yeah, with some stupid timeout or his remarks after the game after a brutal loss. So I guess that's
a good point. I never thought about that.
On the positive side. Yeah, these things go on. After doing this week after week, you start to recognize patterns. I'm like, I haven't mentioned him. And the previous years, it was always Greg Roman was a big hot name. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. Apologize for being somewhat late on this one. The Thursday night game kind of threw everything off a bit. Because we just recorded the Cleveland game, I think on Monday or Sunday. Yeah, on Monday. We had to turn around and do this one. So we will tune in to you in SoFi Stadium against the Chargers. Let's hope we can keep this train running.